Okay, I guess we are live. Joel, you can start greeting people.
Hey everybody, how are you? This is Joel. Um, Welcome to iodnations.org and our live feed Substack. Um, IOD Nations stands for International Online Democratic Nations. If you haven't been here before, what makes our live stream different? Everything that we're doing is different in that um, first of all, we don't charge anybody to comment. We're not here to make money. We would love subscriptions and paid, not paid, all of that stuff, but that's not why we're here. We're here to convince the pro-democracy citizens of the world to unite online and to establish national and international online democratic nations. So I'm going to ask, let me get one thing from Ashfaq. I think I
Yeah,
need,
I actually already sent it to you in our Messenger group chat.
yep, I'm going there right now. So give me just a minute. My feed is, it's having a little, there we go. There's YouTube, there's Substack. Okay, so hopefully that's going to open up and
Yeah,
I
so
will get to
I want
see.
to add a few things. So we are primarily managing our live chat through Substack. So anybody wants to just join in for a chat, come please visit us on the Substack. We have shared the link in our Facebook live feed. Live stream, and also we are sharing the link on YouTube as well. So anybody who wants to be a part or just want to chat with us, come visit us on Substack. And if you want to have a live conversation with us, we also have the Zoom link. So just follow the Zoom link or chat with us so that we know you want to participate. So go
Hey,
ahead, Joel.
Pamela, how are you from Hazard, Kentucky? And Barbara, let me see. That's all I see on my screen as far as who is here right now. Um, but welcome. Uh, Barbara, you may have been here before. Diane, have you been here before? Just so everybody knows, if anything you can do, if you throw some comments in or you engage with us, it helps, and it helps me sort of direct the conversation in a direction that works for you. So the voice you heard is Ashfaq. So part of my team. Hey, Diane, welcome back. Um, if you ever want to engage with us, Diane, we'd love to have you in here. And I know that a lot of this may get a bit repetitive, but I feel like we're getting new people all the time. We are definitely going to do something today with emails at the end of this chat. So please stick around for that if you can. Um, so back to, we have Ashfaq, we have Rakesh, we have Draco, and um man, I'm forgetting how to pronounce that name, Ashfaq.
We have Vidoy, we have Ontu, so we have actually quite a few people.
Okay. These guys are helping out and they are here. We are all here to work with you. Okay. Our objective is to put together an email campaign to establish the International Online Democratic Women's Nation. And the point is that we believe with enough women united online, um, and with a mouse, with emails, we can put together a plan to make the women of the world the most powerful democracy in history. Um, the the age of the internet has altered everything in the world. So if you were to start a business now, if you were to be a corporation, um, anything that you were to do in this world right now, you would need an online presence. And for some reason, for a lot of reasons, we've we've we're missing this comprehension. We've lost this ability to understand or pursue the idea that we should all unite online to promote, protect, improve, and expand freedom and democracy across the world. I saw an article today. It was, I can't believe, I think it was Montana. They just, if I'm not mistaken, they just passed this 6-week abortion bill. So if you are past 6 weeks and you're pregnant, then it's illegal to get an abortion. Now, I don't know if at what extent that's illegal. It would seem to me it's probably in line with a lot of what's going on in the country. And it just wouldn't surprise me that women could get charged with murder, okay? Simply for having an abortion because it's their choice or they need to do it to stay alive. And um, I think when you know, when we look at authoritarian regimes and authoritarian entities, it's the poor, um, it's those who are, racially targeted, and it's women. And you guys are the primary ones who get screwed. Um, And so I think when I go in and go into some of the other live chats or feeds or other things that we see, um, we can see comments that are just flying, and they've got these huge audiences, and everybody's outraged, and we see it in comments to our posts. Um, and nobody's talking about what we can actually do. What steps can be taken? Hey, Suzanne, Red Rose, welcome back. How are you? Um, what can we do to take steps? And so, um, if anybody here right now is available and interested in participating in emails at the end of this show, um, can you just put in a yes? Type in yes. We'd like to know that we have some people who are actually interested. Um, the other thing, or if you're interested in participating in the emails, if you have someone that you think we should target, um, that it would be beneficial if we could get to them. Really, it's any influencer out there, right? What we're trying to do, my main goal is to get someone to interview me and to talk about online citizen led democracy, how the citizens of a community, state, nation, whatever it is, how they can get together and operate and have power and influence from a pro freedom and democratic way. And I believe that Ukraine is imperative to that. I'm working on an article right now. For those of you who don't know, I refer to President Volodymyr Zelensky as President Volodymyr Democracy, because the people of Ukraine and he have found themselves in this position where they're responsible, and they're fighting for, and they're suffering for, and their nation is paying the price for trying to protect Western democracy. And they're doing that as the United States is abandoning that. So I don't know if you know this. Um, the Trump regime has gone in and removed all funding for the UN, or almost all funding. We've stopped 99% of the military funds that were intended to support Ukraine. Here's another one that I found out today. Did you know that because of what's going on now, um, we have removed the Patriot missiles from South Korea? So the the weapons that were there to prevent South Korea from being bombed have been pulled out. And that puts South Korea at risk of attack. And if South Korea is attacked, then that puts us at risk. And we have some obligations to get in there. Hey, Martin, I'm not sure what you're referring to when you say, you know why. What, you know why what? Um, because Vladimir Putin wants an end UN regulation. Yeah. I mean, so Martin, just so that you know, I'm of the opinion that our and NATO, yeah, I mean these are all things that are happening. Um I believe that Putin has the tapes and a lot of the evidence from Epstein. I believe he probably was a part of getting that. I believe he's leveraged it um, to various leaders around the world, uh, all manner of them who are using it, and they're blackmailing our country. I I believe that China is at the root of all of this. The war in Ukraine would not be continuing without the funding of China. Uh, North Korea, pretty much their regime only survives because of the funding of China. Um, it's just insane. I think that what's going on is that we're being manipulated um, to this point of really just I don't destroying is really a strong word, but so Sun Tzu said the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. I believe that America is being subdued socially, economically, politically, and militarily. I mean, think about this. The stories that we're seeing, and again, we want to be careful about what's real and what's not real, and we always want to question things, and you always want to try and find out backup information. But I think we can all agree that if Trump's going to go in and do something with the military, he's going to go in all the way, or a lot of times much of the way. Um, and so now our weapons are being depleted. Okay. Well, that puts us in a weak military position. And thus, when someone threatens or someone decides to attack Taiwan or Japan or Australia, um, these types of things, if we don't have the military resources available, then our military is making recommendations that we pull back and be more careful, and we're more at risk. So we want to be careful of all that. Diane says she had a 9-month-old daughter and had a tubal pregnancy within hours of going into the ER with pain and then with possible appendicitis. Um, yeah, the ectopic pregnancy. Um, I think we forget, there was a day, like an old friend of mine that I lost, when small government meant government kind of staying out of our lives, right? And so a perfect um, definition of small government as it relates to independents and libertarians and conservatives and even Democrats would have been: government should not be involved in your personal health care decisions. And that should apply to women and that should apply to men. Um, and now we have government stepping in and saying that they are the all-knowing, all-deciding. If your 12-year-old daughter is raped, she needs to give birth to that baby, and that means that if you as a family, if your 12-year-old daughter who was raped decide that they want any kind of a relationship with that child, or even if later on that child finds out who their mother was and goes back, if that rapist once, that rapist is now a part of that child's life for the remainder of their life. Can you imagine that? Not only does this child suffer from the rape, but they may now have to um, live with and have that rapist as a part of their life if they have any kind of a connection or relationship with that child. Who in hell dreams this stuff up? So we're going to have to move past that. And what we do that's different here is we're trying to get people to understand where you have power, influence, and agency. So, how do we communicate that? How do we implement that? How can it happen? Um, Draco, I'm going to come to you in just a little bit for the spreadsheet that we had. So just be prepared for that one if you could. I'm not going to do it right now. Is there anyone out there who has a question or who would like to come in and discuss this? Is there anyone who has not heard us talk about international online citizen-led democracy? Um, and actually, hey, Ashfaq, is Rakesh here, and is he available to talk? Can I
Yes.
get him in
Rakesh is
here? And
here.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, Joel?
Yeah, we
I
can hear
can,
you.
Rakesh. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like you to tell people just a little bit about that article that you wrote that had to do with the authoritarian governments that were overthrown, such as what's happened where you guys are in Bangladesh, and how all of those overthrows have failed. Can you just kind of give us a brief overview of what you learned when you researched that article, and why how you think online citizen-led democracy can relate to that? Do you have a few minutes for that?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined us today. So basically, the article was focused on uh, how it is important to unite online. You know, because throughout the world we can see these Gen Z movements in Bangladesh, in Nepal, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in
Let
everywhere.
me ask you a question. You called it real quick, Rakesh. You called it a G and G movement. What did you mean?
Gen Z means
Gen Z, Generation
Gen
Z.
Z. Gen
generation.
Z. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. So in Bangladesh, what happened in July 2024? We had a authoritarian government for the past 15 years. So these students, all under age of 24, they came out on the street, and uh, they make the government fall. Eventually, the government has to resign uh, from from its position. So what happened afterwards? Uh, it's the same thing is happening again, like loophole. There are already another authoritarian government already taken over. So the, you see, people are winning all over the world, but their win remain fragile. Because they are not united. They do not have any international support or any kind of backup to safeguard their win, and uh, what can I say,
Yep.
to
So
get rid
I'm
of
gonna
this kind of authoritarians.
and how many different authoritarian overthrows were sort of in your article where primarily, I mean, young people are always
Yeah, yeah.
involved, women are always involved. How many were overthrown and how many of those overthrows failed?
Most of them are overthrows failed. Only in Nepal, they form government, and their president is Genji. His age is under 24. So apart from that, all over the world, it's failing.
Okay.
But
So
it has
but
a great potential. If these guys can manage to unite online, so they can have uh, that international backup and some support to move forward.
yep. So I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna try and take that a step forward. You feel free to comment if you have anything that you want to say, or if what I'm talking about seems a little bit different from the article that you did. But the point that I got from this, and the point that I'm trying to make to our local government, to college professors who teach political science, and to anyone who will listen, is this. Let's take Iran right now. So we saw Trump and the GOP, and you're going to see me, I'll quite often refer to the GOP because without them, Trump doesn't do what he's doing. Okay, they're responsible for this. The things that we are seeing happen are really a part of Project 2025. Okay, but this is how you know things are disingenuous, and this is how you know what the potential and the possibilities are. Trump and the GOP came out and said that they were concerned for the young people in Iran who were being murdered and weren't being allowed to protest. Okay, and we all know that there's a lot of lies involved in that, because at the same time they're attacking and arresting and shooting people in the United States who want to protest here. So it's not that they really want people to be able to protest, but they're using that as a way to target Iran. Now, imagine if Trump and the GOP had said, oh, well, we're a part of the International Online Democratic Nations movement, and we've created a whole template where all of these pro democracy citizens in Iran who would like to flip their government and have it become a more free and democratic government, they can all go online and register as free and democratic citizens of Iran. And not only can they register there, not only will either the UN or NATO or whatever accept that registration and identify them as a legitimate pro democracy online citizen of the world, but let's take the situation of the International Online Democratic Women's Nation. This women's nation could work with the youth of the world who have their own online democratic nation or whatever. And what they could create is an actual template that models the online governance system that they've created. So let me give you an example. I live in California. I envision in California that we should have a parallel online citizen-led democracy. I was I was gonna, say I'm running for governor of online democratic California, and I spelt it with a K. We actually created a logo for it and stuff like that. And it's not that I want to be governor, I don't, but I I don't think people understand these concepts without them actually being put in place. Most people just can't envision things. They actually have to be able to see it and touch it and feel it and experience it. And so imagine that we, the online pro democracy citizens of California, have set up this model, this outline, this platform for online citizen-led democracy. It's much like Decidim. Can you share that link, Rakesh? And so these
Yeah, I'm
young
sharing it
people
in a
from
moment.
okay, these young people from Bangladesh or these citizens who are trying to overthrow their authoritarian regime in Iran can go online and they can immediately or very quickly have a template of positions that need to be filled. And those positions, whether it's a parallel governor or a parallel prime minister or a parallel president or whatever it is, they can already start with the outline of a Bill of Rights, okay, of a constitution, and they can begin the process of interacting with their land and borders based government, right? They there's always going to be these vestiges, this residual government, even in a Bangladesh or in Iran where this government model is overthrown, but they're going to be linked into them. And so, for instance, if it was me and I was the governor of online California, I would be working with Governor Newsom and have a direct liaison, okay, that's tied in with his governor's office. Now, sometimes we're an independent, citizen-led governance system, okay? So we might use Decidim. And for those of you who don't know, Decidim is this um, it's this online portal, this online platform that's designed to integrate with existing government systems so that the people, the citizens, have more input. So, for instance, in Barcelona, if you get 5,000 people to sign off on a petition to address a certain issue, that issue goes up before Barcelona. Okay. If I'm the online governor of California and the citizens of California come forth and they put up a proposal that they would like to implement ranked choice voting. Okay. Um, and our online citizen led California government already has ranked choice voting. Okay. So we propose that to Governor Newsom. Okay. And when we propose it, we're proposing it where the citizens of California have already been educated on it. They've already been practicing it. They already understand how it works. They can explain that to people who aren't familiar with it. Okay. And they can directly integrate that with the existing government of California. And you can make these changes happen more quickly. If you go to what Rakesh is talking about, whether it be in Bangladesh or it's in Iran where this government has been overthrown and a lot of the old problems that exist from that previous government are there, and these young people, these pro-democracy citizens who have been prevented from participating in things, um, we'll see a trajectory. They are operating with a platform that's been proven to work. Okay. So they immediately go in and they can hit the ground running, right? They at least start to have a chance. And not only do they have a chance, okay, now you've got the online democratic citizens of Australia and the online democratic citizens of Japan, okay, and the online democratic citizens of India. And all of them have this um, I will do that. We will do that. I'll call you trajectory. They have these other online pro-democracy governments that are working together with them to make them strong. Because, I mean, imagine what would happen right now. Imagine if there had been an online democratic government of Iran forming. Okay. How could the GOP justify going in there and attacking them in a situation like that? And what happens then is these other online democratic nations can begin to assert their power and influence. Okay. So the the citizens of online democratic California, or the fourth largest economy in the world, um, can say, if the government of online democratic Bangladesh or online democratic Iran is overthrown, these are going to be the implications. And here's the most important thing. This is what really, really, I think, women bring to the table. Okay. This thing that has been missing through most societies and through most cultures, because there are some um, that have been matriarchal, that have been led by women, but the men have mostly pushed those down. The men have reduced um, the history, the recognition of the history of that and the viability of that. And women, once you put them in charge, their default is not going to be to fight. Their default is not going to be to promote war. I mean, right now in the United States, we're getting ready. I'm sure we're going to get asked to fund, another $500 billion or whatever to buy Patriot missiles so we can shoot down, a $10,000 Shahed drone with a $4 million Patriot missile, so that the military industrial complex can profit and the GOP investors in the military industrial complex can profit, and some of the Democrats, because there are certainly Democrats who are not um, innocent in all of this. And so what we're saying to you is that if the women of the world unite online and form this online democratic women's nation, okay, and if the citizens of California unite in California and form and implement the online democratic state of California, and we keep pushing and we get to just one position of power, the others are going to fall in line. um, And so for those of you who are here, this comes back to the idea and the question of, do you access the internet? And my contention is that we don't access the internet. We are the internet. Okay. Facebook as a social media platform has almost zero value without all of us using it. And in fact, even if 10% of us figure out a way that we can separate ourselves from some of the other people we are in contact with, or trying to use Facebook um, to share our messaging and our missions and our plans and all the things that we want to do. Even if 10% of us leave Facebook, Facebook is still 90% of what it was, and it's a monster. It's a big economic, social, political, religious, and really military monster that we have to deal with. Whereas if you get the women of the world, or the youth of the world, or the LGBTQ plus of the world, or the BIPOC of the world, or the climate activists of the world, or the people of Denmark or Greenland or Canada or Australia or Japan, these democracies that are under threat or at risk, in Taiwan, um, if you get them to unite online, they now have the power and influence to control Facebook. Okay. We then, those of us who are united online democratically, are the most powerful and influential force in the world, and we're doing it in the name of freedom and democracy. So that's the point of what we're doing here. Um, you'll notice we've for those of you who don't know, we've kind of had we bumped heads a little bit with Substack. It appears that we were a little bit aggressive in sharing our links to our live chats. And so not only did we get uh, temporarily banned, but what almost certainly has happened is that we are now algorithmically um, limited. Okay, we want to be careful about how much we're asking people to join us, um, and we believe that when our shows go live and when we publish stuff, we think that Substack is looking at us and trying to make sure that we are not abusing the system and what's going on there. So we are going to be making some transitions over towards YouTube and trying to figure out how to utilize that better. So I think for that part of things, I'm looking up through who we've got here. Our goal is not to be governed by uh, foreign entities, was a comment that Martin made. One of the things that you're going to see throughout all the things that we do is I try not to focus on what we don't want. Okay? What I believe we should be doing. So I'll give you an example. The on March the 28th, you're going to see the No Kings March. And that march is occurring during March. And probably most of you know, in the United States, March is Women's History Month. Okay. So for me, as um, international online pro democracy citizens, okay, I think that when Women's History Month comes around, the name should be changed. And I believe it should be Make Women's History Month, right? The purpose of the month should not be to look back in history and simply admire or reflect on or talk about these brave, bold women from the past and what they accomplished. Because I can guarantee you that if they were here today and they were talking to any of the women in this group, what they would be saying to you is, please use this month to make history, right? Use, instead of doing a no kings march, right? Where the minute you say the no kings march, what you're doing is you're allocating power and influence to the people who are behaving as kings, right? Because what you're trying to do is defend against what they're doing. And my premise is it should be the pro democracy Queen's March, right? The purpose of this march is not to give them more power and influence and just wave signs and give cheers and chants and all of that stuff to them and to try and stop them from what they're doing. This march should be there for the purposes of women or others making history, right? The idea is to use this situation, to use this moment, this historical coming together of all of these people in a way that's strategic and tactical and in a way that could make a difference in the world. So that's our objective. Whenever you see something from us that has a QR code or a link to an email to NATO or something like that, the the purpose, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get, at this point, we're trying to get 10 people um, who want to send an email to NATO saying that you would like to become officially recognized as an online pro democracy world citizen. Okay. And that if we can get 10 people to do that, and then we also do an email campaign where we email, is it Heather Cox Richardson? I'm hoping I've got her name right, or Midas, or Crooked Media and Pod Save America. Okay. Our objective is to get some person of influence to actually participate in this discussion and talk about what could happen. And then the next email that goes to NATO or the UN is 1,000 people. Or after that, we get a bunch more people in here, and the next email that goes in is for 10,000 people or 100,000 people. And to build this thing to the point where um, all of a sudden they're getting enough emails that they feel they need to respond to them. Hey, Deborah, how are you? Thanks for being here today. I think I saw a question about whether you were going to make it or not. Um, did we're we're trying to put together some people who can send some emails at the end of this. Um, so hopefully we will, I don't know how long you're available, but hopefully we will recruit you for that.
I want to
Couldn't
add
get in the
something.
meeting. Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
I sent you the Zoom link in our DM. So if you go
Yep.
to your Substack inbox, you can find it. And anybody else wants to join in with us, just let us know, and we will share the invitation link or send it to you in your email. So go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Were you saying that to Deborah? Were you letting her know that you sent her that link in
Yes,
Substack?
yep.
Okay. Okay. So just to take a break from me being my long-winded self here, is there anyone else who will join Deborah in sending some emails with us today? So Ashfaq, Rakesh, Draco, and I are going to send emails today along with Deborah. One of them is going to go to a YouTuber. Hey, Ashfaq, can you get that guy's name?
Which one?
I sent you guys a message earlier where I was asking if you could come up with his email. He's this English guy. He's done a lot of famous interviews. Um, I'm trying to figure out how I can get him to interview me.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I didn't get the time to look at it, but I'm not. So I can see an email address that says alex@alexcornsilver.co.uk. So that's probably the
Alex
one you're looking for.
O'Connor.
Say that again, Rakesh.
Alex O'Connor.
Alex Ivanov.
Yes. Yeah. He's a man, that guy he is so damn smart. Um, he is just amazing. Um, so yeah, it would uh, honestly at this point, I think we're at a point where we got to figure out a way to get some more people here who are actually interested in participating in some way because that's the objective. We have a goal. We are going to inspire, compel, force uh, people across the world to discuss the possibilities and power and influence of citizen-led online democracy. And that is where we stand. Hey, um, Deborah, are you trying to get the link so that you can get into this Substack? Um, I'd love to get
I
you
shared it
in.
with her. Deborah, please check your Substack inbox. I have
Yes, I
sent you
also,
message.
Deborah, I also send it in your email as well. So whichever feels easy to you, feel free, or just drop a comment so that we know you're having trouble or something that we can help you out with. Okay.
Hey, so I'm just going to look back up here. I'm going to look at a couple names. Uh, I've got Milrit, Karen, Mary, and Cindy. Okay. If I scroll up, I see the four of you. Is there any one of you who would be willing to, um, come into this? You can do it with a video image or not. Is there any one of you that would be willing to come in and participate in a discussion about this? Um, is there anyone who has a question or something, even if you've uh, been here before and you have some familiarity with what we're talking about in regards to online citizen-led democracy, was there was there anything that we said or something that came about that brought you back, um, that surprised you, that made you look at things differently? Um, so if that strikes any of you, if any of you or anyone else who's here would be interested in commenting or participating, we would welcome that. Rose, what about you? Um, you've been here a couple times. Would you be interested in talking with us? Um, that I would I think it would be really interesting. For those of you who don't know, uh, Rose was in some way, shape, or form the first woman to work on one of the production lines for GM. Um, she had some brief stories about uh, what that was like for her, the way that, for instance, if she would go on break or go to lunch, the men would try to sabotage stuff. And I'm not trying to live in the past with her. Um, what I'm trying to show is that the world has changed so dramatically that we live at this time where Rose could go from her career beginning in this really rough, challenging way, and then she could you would change the Queen's thing. Okay, Deborah, you're the second one. Lynn commented on that. Um,
We also have a new guest on our Zoom. Uh, the name is Glenn Ray Nordstorm. So if you can hear us, we would love to hear from you, Glenn. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. So yeah, Deborah, this is one of the problems you have when you have a a man here as one of the driving forces or the primary voices on this whole thing. Um, I might come up with, and as you saw the other day, I'm capable of saying some pretty crazy crap. But I, I I would certainly love to and look forward to transitioning um, past this point where I'm the voice or the face of this. And I would love to see that happen where women step in. So I'm just going to take a little break here. I'm going to for those of you who may or may not have seen it, if you don't know, Draco, we call him AOP, or our Agent of Peace. Um, he does a lot of our video stuff, and if we can get you guys to work with us, uh, we will make ourselves available to create content, where we leave the pro Queens March out of things, and we put it into the hands of the women. So Draco, let's take a moment. Your commercial for the online Democratic Women's Nation always makes me smile and sometimes causes me to tear up a little bit. Can you play that for everybody? Um, I'll look for it when you bring it up on the screen.
Hello, good people. Myself Draco, your agent of peace. I have been working with IOD nations from the very beginning, and we are designing a system where war is never an option. We believe women hold a unique power, the power to stop wars and break the cycle of violence, and we are taking a powerful step forward. By uniting online, women from all over the world are officially forming the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, IOD Women's Nation. This is not only for women. If you believe in peace, freedom, and democracy, this is for you. Because peace is not passive, peace needs structure. If we don't design peaceful systems, chaos designs itself.
Thanks, Draco. Love it, just like I always do. Okay. So today, um, I am going to probably cut things short. I'm not seeing, uh, we'll take a minute. Fat News Daily. Hey, Fat News, tell us, all women have experience of being first at things, male oriented. Love it too. Thanks, Deborah. Let me tell you this. I learned something yesterday. In Paso Robles, there's a lady um, who does a radio show on NPR. Um, oh, I'm gonna blow the name of it. It's the un something therapist. It's not the uncomfortable therapist. Uh, anyway, she talks. She's a comes from a background of psychology and therapy. She also teaches at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and she told me about something. So when the United States of America was founded, we had all of these Indian nations. I grew up on the East Coast in Yorktown, Virginia. And one of the biggest nations and one of the most powerful nations was the Iroquois Nation. And the Iroquois Nation had, I forget the exact name of it, she referred to it. It was called, in essence, the Council of Grandmothers. Okay. And so the Iroquois Nation had if I understand correctly, had a bunch of different tribes. And when it came to major decisions, they had kind of a democratic, negotiated, shared way of reaching decisions. And one of the primary, if not the primary decision maker, was the Council of Grandmothers. And evidently, there are significant parts of that governance system that the Iroquois Nation had in place when we came in and told them that they were ignorant natives, right? And those that parts of that governance system were specifically chosen and integrated into America's system of government. And this was a show that she was doing about women in history, and this kind of thing. And that became a part of this history that was being discussed. And I just thought that was so cool. And it made me think of this, here we are. So we've had about 38 people come in here today. Most of our crowd is older women. Although we have been getting more men here recently. But imagine not just establishing an international online democratic women's nation, but can you imagine the meaning that it would have to these indigenous peoples and to the grandmothers across the world, or the grandmothers in the United States, that you created this council, right? Where they had a position of power and influence and respect within this governance system, and that things ran through them and they were a part of that. And then can you imagine if you had these young women who got to help create that system and design it and put it in place and implement it, and then to share it across the world, right? To to find a way that these older women finally got the opportunity that they should have always had, to have more power, to have more influence, to promote peace. Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
Hey, had you ever heard of the Iroquois Council of Grandmothers? Did you ever hear about that?
I think I did. I think my mother told me about it. She used to collect plates and things done by some famous artist on the Iroquois nations. I don't remember his name, but yeah, I did hear of it. So
Okay.
I think it's
And
a great
I
idea.
want, yeah, I mean, I just think it's so cool, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I mean, just imagine, I think about this whole online education system that could be put in place. I'm gonna run another thing by you. Um, you heard us, we talked the other day about Socrates and how you were a part of that discussion, weren't you?
No, I remember you making, maybe you said a quote by Socrates, but I don't remember that much about
So so
discussion.
so here's one of these interesting ideas. So basically, Socrates ended up drinking poison and killing himself as a punishment for speaking out against democracy. So Socrates was a philosopher and a teacher during the great ancient Greek democracy. And as this, which was at that point, it was kind of the US democracy of its time, right? It was the and I could be misspeaking a little bit. I think, in Persia, and there's some other stuff I'm not really familiar with. I'm not a great historian, but there they had this great democracy, and Socrates kept on teaching and speaking out that democracy was doomed to fail because most of the citizens of ancient Greece were peasants. They weren't informed, they weren't educated. And if you gave them the same voting power that educated and informed people had, they weren't capable of making informed decisions. And so all that would have to happen was for people of power and influence to create messaging and propaganda and manipulate, and that these people who just didn't know could be, in essence, tricked into voting against their own self-interests, right? And so Socrates was teaching democracy is doomed to fail because of this. And the the wealthy and powerful and pro-democracy Greeks who were leading this bold new democracy, they're like, dude, you may be right, but you got to stop saying this stuff because it's the best system we've got, right?
Right.
Um, and ultimately they came to him and they said, you're undermining our democracy and we're going to have to arrest you and prosecute you. How about just going on exile? And he says, well, I can't go on exile because what I'm saying is true. And so they arrested him and then they said, well, let's just escape from prison and go on exile. And he says, I won't escape. And they said, we're going to have to kill you. And he goes, we're going to have to try you. So ultimately they put him on trial.
Right.
The jury was 100 Greek citizens and they voted 52 to 48. They convicted him. They gave him one last chance to escape. And he said no. And he drank the poison. And he drank this poison because he felt that this lesson about what would doom democracy was so important that he had to die for it.
Right.
Right. And so if you think that the greatest Western philosopher was right, and if you look at where we are right now, I think we're witnessing this, right? We have these people who won't discuss climate change, right? They're not interested in engaging about the discussion of our economy and the military industrial complex and how much money it's taking from us and how it's affecting our economy, right? We just can't, or religion, right? We can't go back in right now and have real honest discussions about how religion has to be separated from the government system. But here's the kicker. So not only do I see this online democracy where let's say you're the one who's designing it, right? And you create this whole online educational system that can educate about matriarchal systems and educate about when democracies failed in the past and what caused that. But you have this international or national online women's nation, okay? And you put in place weighted voting. Okay. So if you were to go in and say, well, we're only going to give our voting power to people who are educated and informed, nobody's going to buy that system, right?
Right.
That's just not going to fly.
No.
But but what if you go in and you say everybody gets a vote, okay? But we've put in place this educational informative structure where you can keep up with current events and the history of democracy, or maybe if you're voting on a climate bill, right, you can go in and learn about climate and you can test out. And now when you vote, well, your vote has a 1.2 weighting because you took the time to inform yourself. You took the time to educate yourself. This women's nation wants to have a more informed and educated society. And they've put in place a structure that rewards people for investing that time. And now maybe you've got someone who's kind of underprivileged, right? Or maybe they didn't have quite the access to that. And
Right.
they're like, oh my God, I can go in and learn and I can test out. I can I can ultimately reach the point where my vote counts for two votes. How freaking cool would that be?
I don't know. I'm not
Neither do
sure about,
I.
I'm really
I'm
not
not sure
sure.
about it either. But my point is what you could do, for instance, you're familiar with ranked choice voting,
Yeah.
are you?
No. No, I'm not gonna lie.
What's that?
No, I don't think I've ever heard of ranked voting. Is that what
Okay,
you
so
said?
let me give you an example of ranked choice voting, and it'll be a really I don't I don't I may not fully explain it properly, but what ranked choice voting does is it eliminates the majority of the forced votes and ties you into a two-party system. So let's take, for instance, Deborah, Joel, Draco, and Rakesh are running for governor of New York. Okay.
Okay.
And Ashfaq is voting, and Ashfaq really wants to vote for Deborah. Okay. But Deborah's not really that popular because she's kind of grumpy and mean. Okay. Um, and so there's really a question about if Ashfaq votes for Deborah, is he throwing his vote away? Right?
Right.
Because if he votes for Deborah, this other person that would be his next choice, who's running against Rakesh, and Rakesh is an asshole. All right. Rakesh is an authoritarian. He believes the whole world revolves around him, but a lot of people like him because he's a handsome devil. Okay. And so Oshfaq's sitting there, he's going, shit, I really want to vote for Deborah, but God, I think I got to vote for that butthead Joel instead
Because
of
she's so little.
Deborah,
Right.
because if I don't vote for Joel, Rakesh is going to get elected and he's an ass.
Yeah.
Okay. What ranked choice
Okay.
voting says is Oshfaq gets to vote for Deborah, and he votes for Joel as his number two choice.
Okay.
Okay. And if Deborah doesn't get enough votes at a certain threshold,
Right.
then Oshfaq's vote is not lost,
Right.
right? His vote drops to the final two, right? Who
Yeah.
are in the running for the office, and we keep that ass Rakesh from getting elected.
Right.
But Oshfaq still gets to vote his conscience because he felt Deborah was really the best candidate for office. And so
Yeah.
Deborah can continue to run for office without having to worry. So, for instance, what's happening in California right now, I don't know if you're aware of this. We have like eight. So, well, I'll just speak round numbers. California is about 65 or 70%. We'll say 65% progressive. Okay.
Right.
And right now, we have two or three candidates running for governor who are conservative, and the conservatives really never stand a chance anymore for you know
No,
governor in
they take the
California.
votes. Right. Right. They take away
Yes,
votes. So yeah.
but the way the primary system in California is set up, we also have like eight people running as Democrats for governor of California. And
Right.
the way the system is set up is the two top vote getters are the ones who go into the runoff. So what's happening now is if all the Democrats stay in the race, it's almost mathematically assured that a state that's 65% progressive Democrat is going to nominate two conservatives because they are only running against each
Each
other,
other.
and
Right.
and percentage wise they get to vote and they get to and
Right.
and so there was
Oh,
this
wait. But in
go ahead.
California, do you, in your primaries, like in New York State, only Democrats can vote in the Democratic primary. I know some states allow the citizens to vote also, for whatever they want. But in New York State, to vote in the primary, you have to be a Democrat. To vote in the Republican primary, you have to be a Republican. Is that how it is in California? It
I
can't be
don't
if you have
I
ranked
don't
voting. Yes.
Well, we don't have ranked choice
Oh,
voting.
okay.
If we had, there's only I think there's only one state. What state is Bernie a senator from?
Vermont. Vermont.
Vermont. I think that Vermont is the only state in the country that has ranked choice voting. It's one of the northeastern states.
Okay.
And so that is, and so I'm not sure in California, but I think either way, it's the compilation of the overall vote. So I think it might not be I think that it might be nonpartisan in the primaries, that
Okay.
anybody can vote for any, if I'm not
Wow.
misunderstood. But
Wow.
but here's what happened. I saw this he was a black guy. He's running as a Democrat. Okay. He's I think last Friday was when his official entry into the election was going to take place, right? And the head of the Democratic Party in California already came out before this guy even had a chance to officially get himself on the ballot and said, we need Democrats who don't stand a legitimate chance to step aside because we
Right.
can't take a chance
Right.
on losing this primary. And here's this guy, and he's going, wait a minute. I
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten a chance to get out and really run as a
Right.
viable candidate and share my message and my platform and become a viable candidate, and
Right.
you're already kicking me out. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's right. And ranked choice voting eliminates that issue, right? It
Right.
gives those people this opportunity to really vote for who they think is the best candidate. And it gives, all of a sudden, maybe you have this Green Party candidate. Now, on the one hand, they could end up being a populist who has a really shitty agenda who
Right.
could win, right? But on the other hand, the reality is most likely to happen is if this person can get all the way up to election day and convince enough people that they're a great viable candidate, like Joel instead of Rakesh, or like Deborah instead of Rakesh, right? Then they actually stand a chance of getting elected. And isn't that one of our biggest problems? You
Mm.
know, we're not electing the best people to office.
Right.
And I know when I'm talking to you, I'm preaching to the choir. But don't I guess my point is this is if we if we have this opportunity to create these parallel governments that are online citizen-led governments, even if they don't become as powerful as I believe they will, right? What we
Right.
get to do is we get to execute these models. We get to actually show people how it works, right? We
Right.
get to,
Right.
we get we get people to participate in it, and they may say, I believe what'll end up happening is they'll go, hey, wait a minute. The pro-democracy citizens of the online state of New York who just elected Deborah as the governor of online democratic New York, right?
Right.
We want a system like that. And now Deborah is this online citizen-led governor, right? And she's directly working with the governor of New York and and saying, hey, you know, in our online democratic New York, we've got, I don't know what the number is,
Right.
500,000 or a million citizens. They want this type of election to be possible, and you can start making these things happen, and you can start when it comes back to what we talked about earlier about the weighted voting.
Right.
A lot of people are unsure about it. Everybody should be unsure about it. But what you could do is you could get I don't know how you guys are broken up. We're broken up into counties and districts, right?
Right. Right.
You could you could run one as an experiment. You could run the online version as an
Mm-hmm.
experiment. and you could test it and people could see it. And the
Right.
people who take those tests, you could live and breathe a working, growing, viable democracy that has the ability to adapt and move and change and have people believe that their votes actually make a
Yeah.
difference. and and Deborah actually gets a chance to win an election that she
Mm.
wouldn't have had before. Doesn't that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
So,
it does.
Joel, I think we should also discuss about the weighted voting system where like people's votes get certain amount of points. For example,
Well,
there,
that's kind of
yeah,
that's
like,
really what I was alluding to, Ashfaq, is that, you know, Ashfaq Ashfaq wants Deborah to get elected. He thinks that she is by far the best candidate for office. And Ashfaq is sitting there and he's going, shit, how can I help Deborah get elected? Right. And he goes online and he looks up and he goes, da 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 da. I've been participating in these tests and I've reached the point where I've got a 1.22 voted weighting average, right? That's what my vote counts for in the system. However, the system is set up. If I study and take these 4 tests, I go from a 1.22 to a 1.78. Okay. And so what Ashfaq does is he goes out to all the people and Deborah goes out to them. And Deborah says, hey guys, if you want to get me elected, go in and study. Go in and learn more about democracy. Go in and learn more about these issues that I'm going to champion. And all of a sudden, Deborah may have 2% less voters who vote for her, but because they all put the time and the effort in to become educated and informed and to be better citizens of New York, right? They could win that vote. And then what
actually,
does that
sorry.
do, right? Then what happens is all of the citizens who are voting are going, holy shit, we got to become more informed and educated if we want to have a chance of winning elections. And then what you've done is you've taken the one complaint that the greatest Western philosopher in history had, the one thing that he said was the biggest weakness in democracy, and now to a significant standpoint, you've dealt with that. You're really addressing it and you're using the internet to do it. When Socrates was doing it, the only way these peasants had to learn was to come into town and go listen to him speak in the street. Now, because we have online education and
Right.
information and voting and all this, it's there for them. And it makes so much sense that we
Thanks.
want educated and informed citizens, and we should be putting things in place that help make that happen.
All right. Now, I want to add something to that, Joel. So, Deborah, imagine like we already have established the online democratic system where we vote from our phones and we vote quite often on national or international issues. So
Right.
right now, government is taking our uh, decisions. I mean, they are taking decisions for us, but we should be actually the ones who should, cast our vote, and it should go through statistics and some analysis. So I actually wanted to point out a great thing that Joel and I discussed. So, for example, imagine there's a healthcare crisis and we need people's opinion, right? And people votes, but we give doctors 5 points and engineers like 2 or 3 points because the engineers are well educated, but they don't have the proper knowledge for medical stuff, right? So we have to break it down to that part. I mean, that certain macro level or micro level, whatever you want to say it, so that it's working efficiently. It's not just some random voting casting. Either you want black or white. It's not that we, make a vibrancy out of this structure.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I have to say that so many people don't vote today. I mean, first of all, if we had a system where we required everyone to vote, that would probably work better than anything. But we don't have that. And most people who don't vote say, my vote doesn't matter. I don't count. It's not going to make a difference. Or they say, I'm not educated enough.
Well, I
That's
am
one of their
actually,
fears.
I didn't vote on last election, and
I was gonna
I
say,
had my I had my reasons. Like the system, it doesn't work. It's like voting from two evil guys. Pick the evil guy that you like. I don't believe in this system. I believe we need something new. We probably need to invent that. We are inviting the crazy diamonds of the world to come join us and help us build that infrastructure that is made by the people for the people, and that serves people, not just politicians.
Right.
But
so
Well,
Deborah, tell me.
one of our ideas in political science was, do we punish people for not voting or do we reward them for voting? So should we pay them $1 if they come and vote, or should we charge them $1 if they don't vote? I mean, one of the major obstacles in getting good people in government is the fact that we don't have enough people voting. You have political party bosses controlling things that they shouldn't be controlling. You have people like me who say there's no good party except the cocktail party. So I was a Republican, then a Democrat, elected both times. And then I switched to the Libertarian Party, only so I could create trouble. This way, if somebody's running and I say, oh, no, 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 there's only two parties, I think I'll get myself on the ticket and make a difference. And what I'll do is I will present myself. First of all, I'll be a woman, there'll be men. Lots of men will vote for me because they don't like those two men. There's other ways of doing it. I mean, I'm more of a troublemaker, I guess. I'm an instigator. I say you need more than two parties. So I joined the Libertarian Party so that I could influence an election by either, like when Wells ran against Hillary and what was the guy? Like, it was Clinton, Trump, and then the Libertarians ran, I forgot his name, but Weldon was on the ticket, and he was a great governor of Massachusetts.
They were Johnson or something like
Yeah,
that.
Gary Johnson, right. So when they put them out, if they had put Weldon at the top of the ticket, Trump never would have won. He wouldn't have won because Weldon would have had some support. He was smart, attractive, charismatic, blah, blah, blah. They had the right idea. They were going to try and influence the election. They didn't want Hillary, but they didn't want Trump either. I don't really know what they wanted. But I know that they impacted that election. It wasn't just Trump's fixer that got him the ballot access. The Republican Party, they were all crooked in putting him on the ballot. So libertarian, there's so many ways to impact an election, not just weighted voting, but
so you ran for office 3 times and got elected twice, is that correct?
No, I got elected. I never lost an election. I ran as a Republican. Midstream, I voted to the Democratic Party because I was pro-choice, pro-gay rights, pro-civil rights. I had 100% rating with the ACLU. The Republicans wouldn't let me advertise that. The Republicans changed their platform to only right-to-life people could run. I said, well, I'm already in office. They're not going to kick me out, but I don't want to be, that's not my platform. So I switched to the Democratic Party midstream, 1997. I ran as a Democrat and won. I won the primary. I got primaried. And then I won the general election. But I ran 3 times, Republican, Republican, Democrat. Then they asked me to run for Congress. I didn't run for Congress because the
Now,
congressman thought he switched to the Democratic Party because I had switched and he knew I was going to run for Congress. So he became a Democrat. And I said, I'm not doing this again. No more. I'm not doing another primary. I can't. It's too much. And I just left the game. I just walked away and said, I'm going to take care of my family. Enough of this.
how long ago was that?
2000. The year was 2000. So he
But
lost. He ended up losing because we ran a primary against him using an older woman lawyer, a Democrat. She won the Democratic nomination, and Forbes was out. The Republicans ran Felix Grucci, who was Grucci Fireworks, and Grucci ended up winning. So I made a major faux pas. I should have done the Democratic primary against him, but it just took too much energy. I ran out of energy. I burned myself out. 6 years, I burned myself out because I
how
took it seriously.
how um how functional was the government? So you were a state assembly person, is that
Right.
correct?
I was a state legislator, yes. I was the equivalent of the House of Representatives member to the state
For
legislature.
to the state legislature. And then when you say they asked you to run for Congress,
Yeah, my
was that
party.
as a Democrat?
Yeah, yeah. I was a Democrat. They asked me to run against the Republican conservative right to life candidate. As soon as he heard I was running, he switched parties to the Democratic Party. And he sat in Congress as a Democrat. They didn't, they let him be a Democrat. I got a telephone call from Dick Gephardt saying, because I was furious, I said, listen, this guy's right to life, conservative Republican. He's not a Democrat. And Dick Gephardt said, well, we won't let him vote on the issue of choice. And I said, that's not good enough for me because that's all bullshit and you're lying to me. So, but Dick Gephardt pretty much threatened me. They were going to support Michael Forbes as the sitting congressman because he switched to the Democratic Party. And I wouldn't stand a chance because I could never raise money, to compete with what he had in his bank. So I don't know, maybe I would have won, maybe I wouldn't, but I just got tired of the whole thing. I said, it's a game.
Holy
So
so so Deborah, how when you watch, I mean, I've you're so damn smart, right? I mean, I can just see, and you've had so much exposure to this stuff, and I can tell by the fact that you're back here again. I just you're like this shining light to me, right? It's like someone who's been involved in the process, someone who understands what we're talking about. The fact that you've actually been involved with both parties to me is incredibly um
it's a little unusual.
reaff-
It's a little
yeah,
unusual.
but it to me it's reaffirming. I mean, my journey on this, okay, so where you're this rebel and you've put yourself out there, I'm this person. I'm uncomfortable with that, right? I don't really want to do that. It's not me, but I want to make a difference. But I've been trying to get this out there for 10 years. Ashfaq has looked at me, the fact that I finally got in front of a camera at the beginning of this year. He's been trying to get me to do this for years. And I've just gone through all of these fucking just twisting myself like a pretzel to
Right.
do and say all kinds of things instead of doing what you did, right? Just actually standing up and saying, all right, you bastards, I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And and so now I'm doing that. I'm trying to do a better job of that, right? I'm trying. I'm willing to put myself out there. I feel like I have to. But when I'm here talking to you, and I see that you get this stuff, and even when you express something and you say, well, I'm not sure about that, then you're not saying no, that won't work. I met with this guy yesterday. Okay. This
Okay.
guy he's run for office as a Democrat twice in California. Okay. He hasn't been successful in either one. Um, a good friend of mine who's you may have seen in here, his name is Sean. Sean's putting on an event in not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. It's called the Beautiful Movement. Okay. And it's really just trying to get people together in a kind of a love fest, right? A
Right. Right.
band and I'm going to be a speaker there.
Right.
Okay. And and this other guy was there, but I got to tell you this story. Okay.
Okay.
So, and on the one hand, I have not done near the amount of work that he's done over his lifetime. Okay. So I'm hesitant to criticize someone who's done so much more and put so much more effort into it over their life than I have, right?
Right.
I need to be I need to be respectful of that and appreciate that, and the kind of I know, listening to him, the kind of sacrifice that's there. But then on the other side, I have this pragmatic aspect that says, that's really amazing. I'm glad you did all of that. That's wonderful and all of this. But what the fuck are you doing for us now? Okay. And are you open to new ideas? Right. So he told this story. He said he went into an upper level administrator at a local school, and he pointed out to this school he was trying to put this together, this, I'll call it a philanthropic program within the school, where the kids would take a class in essence in philanthropy. Okay.
Right.
And he was talking about, helping the elderly and fixing up homes and,
Right.
um, ripping out invasive weeds and planting over here and, whatever it was, trash pickup or whatever it was.
Right.
And,
Right.
and his point was, he went to the school administrator and he said, look at these results. Here's 25 kids who have participated in these programs. Look at their GPA. Look at the colleges they get into. Look at how they're testing out. They're all examples of better students. And I believe it directly correlates to this. And I believe that if you put this in place and you promoted these philanthropic activities and you had them take courses in them, it would enhance their scores and both their civic and their educational scores. And the guy looked at him and said, I don't believe in mandatory philanthropy.
Right.
Right. And here was this guy I'm sitting next to, and that's what he's saying. And then he wasn't receptive to my ideas. Now, granted, he came there really to support Sean and that process. He's really busy. He didn't know me,
Right.
but he really didn't want to engage with me, right?
Right.
And so we danced back and forth, and we had a couple things, and then we were talking about the student protests, and I was trying to get him to focus on this difference that we live in this internet age, right? And I said, can you imagine if the students who were doing these marches had all been united online? And if they had coordinated those marches, I said, do you realize that those students could get the Epstein files released? Right?
Right.
All they have to do is make a coordinated, unified school walkout with one or two specific objectives that they want to accomplish. Okay. And in a matter of a couple of days, the parents, the schools, everybody would be in an uproar, and all they would have to do is stick to their guns on something that was an achievable objective, right? So they were doing it around ICE, okay?
Right.
Remove the funding from ICE and stop buying these internment camps,
Right.
okay? And they could have created that. And this guy just looks at me and looks away and starts talking to Sean. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you're treating me just the way that school official treated you, right? I'm presenting you something, even if you don't agree with it, even if you think it should be done differently or whatever it is, don't just disregard me or
Right.
push it away. And so when I spoke to you and I mentioned weighted voting, you didn't disregard it the way you responded. You said, I'm not sure about that. Right?
Right.
Now, there's a difference between I'm not sure about that and that will never work.
Right.
Right? When you
Right.
when you say I'm not sure about that, you're still leaving a crack in the door, right? You're saying,
Right.
okay, I'm not sure about that. You'd have to come address some of my concerns, and I may know some shit about being in politics that you don't. You really need to show me something before I would get behind. And then when I started talking to you about it, and we discussed how weighted voting could work, and we discussed how it could be tested and experimented with, and that the citizens could decide whether they like it and how
Right.
it could affect elections, I could just see it in your eyes, and you're going, okay, I'm still probably not sure about it, but I think it's got a little bit more viability than I initially thought. Is that a
Right.
fair
That's a fair
assessment?
assessment. Very fair. Yes. Yes. That's a fair.
Yeah. And
Yep.
and that is what allows us to take ideas and concepts and explore them and break them down and test them and try things and talk to the public about it, right? It
Right.
goes back to the Decidim app, where citizens can engage with their government
Right.
through this app. So, you know, 20,000 people online give a proposal to Deborah, and they say, hey, we're interested in talking to you about weighted voting. And Deborah's sitting in office and she's going, well, that's fine, but I need you to, if you want to come back to me on this, these are my 3 concerns, or these are
Right.
4 of my concerns that I have. Can you come back to me and show me that you've looked at those? Show me how they might affect this or that or the other thing, or reach out to these people who aren't a part of your group and see what they think of that. But you can do that in a matter of days if
Right.
you're doing this stuff online, and you can really suss a lot of this stuff out and
Right.
determine whether it has real legs before the government actually has to deal with it, before Deborah has to say, shit, I think I got to talk to some people about this. This might
Yeah.
have legs,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, I want
Yeah.
to add a comment here. The trajectory actually posted the same comment several times, so I think we should address it.
Okay.
The trajectory thinks the US must end the electoral college and use popular vote for every office, in my opinion. So go ahead, Joel.
I What do you say, Deborah? What's your thought
Well,
on the electoral college?
well, now that I've learned, I was an elector. I had Bill Bradley. I was an elector for Bill Bradley, and what they have to do, first of all, I don't think people understand. A petition is walked, and your name as the elector goes on that petition with the candidate. So the candidate was Bill Bradley. Bill Clinton, he had an elector, Christy Brinkley. She was on his. So when he got more votes than Bill Bradley, I was still an elector, but I was going to have to cast my vote for Bill Clinton, okay? Because he won based on the number of votes that came in during the primary. So people don't understand electors are chosen not by a draw, they're actually on a petition with the candidate. Now, I learned recently that there's a lawsuit because electors were substituted by Donald Trump. He took the one that was elected through petition process away and stuck in some of his own campaign people as electors. I was not forced to vote for Bill Clinton. I was advised it would be in the best interest. It's the way you're supposed to do it. But I could have cast my vote for Bill Bradley. So what Trump was doing was putting his people in to ensure that he would be on the ballot and that he would win eventually, down the
Right.
road. So people don't understand the process by which electors are chosen. Too much chance right now, having seen what Trump did, which is part of what I think he's going to be doing again. Well, that's if we had elections, but we're not going to have elections. So, um,
You're aware of that, right? So you're
oh,
one of these
absolutely.
people who
Absolutely.
really
No elec-
recognizes that what's happening right now is
Yeah, no elections. There will not be. There's not going to be any elections in 2026. I mean, it'd be nice to think that, oh, this is so wonderful. We're going to take both houses back. That's
okay.
not happening. But
Well, I'm I'm not quite as skeptical as you are, but what I believe is that these elections, even if they do happen, I don't know quite what happened in Dallas, but they screwed up the votes for a couple of hours. And
right,
I believe that there will be a lot of places where there will be elections, but they will put in place things that screw the actual voting up so much, or they'll declare that it did, that they'll declare the election
in
invalid,
right,
and in essence, still people will get to go through the process feeling as if they voted
right.
right, but
But it's
then in all
predetermined.
these different
Right,
and and I believe they're already sussing this out to
right.
know certain areas where they need to do that
Mm-hmm.
to swing things enough to muddy the waters and win the
Right,
elections.
right,
So that's kind of how I see it playing out.
right.
Okay. So,
I don't know how I feel about I would have told you 3 years ago, eliminate the electoral college. I would have said that a few years ago. I'm not sure anymore because of what I've witnessed by doing some research on how they have played games with the electors and substituted actual supporters, loyalists. And Donald Trump has that ability with money and the power of the oligarchs behind him. So I don't know if I don't know if I would eliminate electors. But I would tell you that
okay.
the Board of Elections, no one understands. County boards of election are run by county party bosses. They're nepotism jobs. They are only given to party loyalists. You have an equal number of Democrats as you do Republicans in every county board of elections. So the party bosses sit there and say, well, Joe Blow has been in Congress for 40 years. He's going to win again. So we don't even bother running anybody against him. But let us have the town supervisor seat. So they're cutting deals behind everybody's back that nobody knows about. All Trump has to do is, and that's what he did do, influence some of the Republican Party bosses at the county level, and he can have petitions thrown in a closet for 10 years that never get discovered. There's so much corruption that takes place at the local county board of elections that I don't know why he's not just meeting with all of the county leaders and paying them off. because that's all he has to do.
Probably is.
It is. It's all he has to do is give the Republican Party bosses money, and he'll get their, he'll get his votes.
Okay. So I have learned so much about you, so much more about you. Okay. So I want to take advantage of this opportunity. So before I do though, I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna pull Rakesh in here just for a minute before we move on to how do we get shit done, because
Okay.
that's what IOD Nations is here for. That's
Right.
what we're supposed to be
Okay.
about.
How
And
old is how old is this organization? I assume that it's been started in India or somewhere else, or is it a
which
brand
in
new?
IOD Nations?
Yeah. Is it brand new?
Oh, hell yes. I mean,
Oh,
when I
okay.
say brand new, I founded it with Ashfaq, and we did it as ION Nations originally, International Online Nations. But in trying to explain it to people, I had to call it International Online Democratic Nations. So that
Okay.
I think it's kind of like the pro Queens March,
Right.
right?
Right.
Lynn said, we don't want queens, we want elected officials. I said, okay. I was going to call it the pro Queens Democratic March, but I was trying
Right.
to match, pro Queens versus no kings.
Right.
But
Right.
just to relate to what you were just talking about, the corruption, the local politics, and all this stuff. Hey, Rakesh, what
Yeah.
was the primary reason why the youth of Bangladesh revolted against the authoritarian government? Can you tell Deborah that?
Yeah. Basically, it started with a protest against a quota system, on government job. So they're going to offer this job. Actually, they're saying they're going to offer it uh, uh, mm, to the relatives of the freedom fighters and Birangonas. But in reality, it was actually helping uh, the Awami League political party. So
Mhm.
they were recruiting their people uh, by the name of freedom fighters quota. So
Right.
that was the point, starting point of the protest. Then it led up to the remove the government kind of thing.
So here's what I came to understand, Deborah. So the history of Bangladesh goes back to this point in time where they had this generation of freedom fighters who got Bangladesh their freedom. Ashfaq, where did Bangladesh win their freedom from initially with
Right.
the freedom
So
fighters? Just briefly.
yeah, so it was in 1971. So actually, we were part of this whole big continent called India, I guess, at that
Great
time,
India.
the Great India. Yeah. So then, after British left, they split it out into separate countries like Bangladesh. I mean, there's sorry, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan,
East Pakistan, West
Myanmar.
Pakistan.
Yeah, so we were called the East Pakistan, or yeah, East Pakistan. At that time, like it's probably from 1948 to 1971, and then there was big operation, suppression of language and so many stuff that led to the war. That's where we got our independence from. So in 2024, it's like our second
Second
independence. Lots
independence.
of politicians, advisors to the government have picked up this narrative.
So Deborah, what was happening, and you probably already recognize this, but I'm going to say it for some other people who may not be as familiar. So these freedom fighters won Bangladesh its freedom, and instead of being East Pakistan or whatever it is, they became the nation of Bangladesh. Okay. And then this authoritarian government got in place, and in order to sound ethical and patriotic and all of this stuff, they would only assign positions within the whole government jobs and system. They said you have to be a relative of a freedom fighter
Okay.
and you can get a job in the government. And so you had all these young people. Now we're entering the age of the internet. You're getting educated on how to use spreadsheets, right? And how to modernize your government and do all this stuff. And these really qualified young people from Bangladesh are applying for these jobs. And I'm going to probably over exaggerate and then probably not over exaggerate. And please, I'm not meaning to offend any of my guys. They know me well enough for that. I'm just trying to
Oh, we are totally
simplify it.
good with it, man. Go
And
ahead.
and some dude who raises camels gets the job to run the technology department for Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Right.
And these kids are sitting here and they're going, what the fuck is going on? And
Right.
so they rebelled and they won it, and now they've lost it again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
uh,
because
uh,
it's basically the vacuum they created is already filled by another authoritarian government, you know.
Right. Right. So the nepotism pretty
The
much took over.
system is still intact. We need to break this system where people takes the power. We don't depend on any politicians. Okay, so I
Right.
am actually
Actually,
coordinating
our
with.
constitution is created a way that gives our prime minister so much power that he or she can manipulate it in several ways, you
So
know, against a
I
citizen.
I even have some radical ideas like where we put these people in power, the prime minister, the president, the general, who are in power. We
Right.
should like 24 monitor them 24/7 through a live streaming camera so that they cannot do anything behind our back. I know it's too radical. Lots of people discipline it. Sorry, I mean close it, but
that
I mean
makes that makes my weighted voting idea look like the tamest idea in the world. He 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 basic what was that movie with Jim Carrey in it or whatever?
yeah, it's called The Truman Show.
Oh,
It's
The
right.
a
Right.
Truman
Indian
Show.
movie.
Right.
Yeah, I
He
mean we
he
should
he
actually do
wants the
that to
leaders of
politicians.
Bangladesh to live in a world where they're
Okay.
monitored all the time.
Right. Right. Right.
But so when you're here, Deborah, and you're talking with us, when the article that Rakesh wrote about these failed overthrows of authoritarians, right? They're sitting there from this firsthand experience. They recognize that Bangladesh would have at least had a significantly higher chance of surviving as a democracy
Right.
if we had all these strong online democracies, and if there was this parallel template
Mm-hmm.
where these young people could have gone in and had the support, right, where they
Yeah.
can immediately show that they can be effective and they have some, some of the basic things of running a power structure, like a
Right.
electric power
Right.
and managing natural resources and these things. If that had been available and had support from, let's say that the there was a group from, Denmark, Greenland, and Canada, and they put together a team that went over to Bangladesh to work with them. Here's how you're going to integrate this online democratic government. Here's
Yes.
how it needs to work. Here's where we saw problems when we did this with Timbuktu, 2 years ago. This is what they ran into. This is how we mitigated it, and you stand a chance. And so that's now I'm going to set all of that aside. Okay. And now
Okay.
I'm going to come back, and you, Deborah, you're going to have to establish limits with me and with us, because I'm going to ask you all kinds of questions, because you, you're the you're the woman who's here, right? You have gravitas. You can speak to these ladies and these other people who come into this group from a
Yeah,
position of
actually, we
experience.
were looking for someone like you, you know. So we were targeting influencers, big politicians, and uh, famous people who can amplify our voices, you know.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
you are
famous. I'm
someone
not famous at
like that.
all. So,
But
but
let me ask you
Well, we
this,
can try to make you
and
famous if you are willing to
well,
try.
you can. I'm I I'm ready for you to run for president of the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, because if you don't, I'm gonna. So
then you
you
don't
want to know
have to
how
do
you
it. We'll get you a
you know you
wig to shave. You know, you look good. You look good.
no. You want to know what I was gonna do? These
What?
guys talked me out of it. Okay. I went to the County Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday and made my presentation, and I'm going to be there again next week, right? And you know what I told them I was going to do?
What?
This I was going to go. Let's do this, because you have a good sense of humor. I was going to go dressed as Mrs. Stoutwiener, president of the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, right? And just express the absurdity of this, that we have this opportunity and it's going to happen. How do we make it happen more
Right.
quickly, right? How do we get
Yeah,
people
by
here?
uniting
So
online.
Yeah.
so you have to understand, I will ask you questions that might push your limits, and you I can already tell you're a strong enough woman. You're going to say, "Hey, Joel, you're barking up the
Yeah,
wrong
Draco
tree
is
here."
actually nominating her for Nobel Peace Prize.
But here's my question.
All right.
Can you imagine the discussion that we just had earlier, where we talked about weighted voting? Okay, we talked, and imagine, we haven't really gotten into an in-depth discussion about the power of this, okay? About how emails, the internet, and phones, when I spoke to the Board of Supervisors yesterday, I held this up and I said, go ask your staff at your supervisor's offices, okay? I could get 1,000 people and put together an email campaign, and I can shut down the whole county government for the county of San Luis Obispo. Okay. And you give me 10,000 or 100,000, and I can shut down a state. Okay. So my point there is that I'm not threatening to do that with you. That's not the objective. But if the women of the world come up with something that they need to make happen, and they believe that by shutting down a state government or shutting down a city government, that could facilitate making that happen, as a supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, right?
Right.
They are capable of that, and that's what's going to happen when the women of the world form this international online democratic nation. They
Right.
are going to sit there as a million, or as 10 million, or as a billion, and they're going to put up on the wall, okay, what we're the group, we operate at the top. Okay, Deborah's up there with four other mentors. Okay, and the president of the International Online Democratic Women's Nation is above them. Okay, and their sole goal is the protection, expansion, improvement of freedom and democracy across the world. Okay. They don't get down into the local shit, the state shit. They're up there operating at that level. Okay. What's their next objective? right? They list 4 or 5 of them. The mentors and the board go through them. They weigh the pros and cons. They talk them back and forth, and they come up with a decision. And they say, okay, this is the one we're going after, and we're going to put it forth and see if the citizens, the women who are citizens of our nation, once they understand what we're trying to do and why, do they support us in this? And if we get a 60% vote or a 66% vote, all we're doing it for is the protection, promotion, improvement, and expansion of freedom and democracy across the world, because that's the level we operate on.
Right.
We stay away from this other shit, okay? And if they tell us to do it, and if they tell us they'll support it, our email war is coming. And we're going to hold a drawing. And if your state or your city is the one that's pulled, or your corporation, sorry guys, we're coming after you. And you either need
Yeah.
to demonstrate that you're pro freedom and democracy and that you support us as an active participant in being pro freedom and democracy, and make this shit happen, or we're going to make it happen. And so that discussion, I believe, and I'm sure you won't be offended, I believe that if I was sitting here talking with AOC or Elizabeth Warren or
Right.
Katie Porter or Jasmine Crockett, and I was describing this to them, and I was saying, you know, hey, let's do this. Hey, Draco, can you play our Jasmine Crockett commercial for Deborah? So did you ever, so I saw this show, they did political commercials last year, and they said the best commercials they had seen. And one of the commercials was for Jasmine Crockett, okay? And I came up with a concept of what I thought was a better commercial for Jasmine Crockett. And this is it. I'd like to play this for you.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding. Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
People have been telling us what we can't do our whole lives. They say we can't turn out the vote. In Texas, we refer to those types as all hat and no cojones. I am going to unite the pro-democracy citizens of Texas online before the election. I will create a new way for Texans to unite online and help lead and govern this great state. My name is Jasmine Crockett. Don't vote for me unless I earn your vote before the election. Donald Bone Spurs Trump is yellow like mustard, but without the bite. Oh, I have a special message for Greg Abbott. I don't care if you are in a wheelchair or not. You are so crooked, you could swallow nails and spit out corkscrews. Y'all best butt your butthole and call me a biscuit. There's a new sheriff in town.
I like it. That's cute. That's very good.
Okay, so we have a new guest. Let me welcome him first. Welcome, American citizen. If you can hear us, tell us where you are from, and we'll move the conversation from there.
So I'm from the United States. I'm here from what's called the Great Lakes area. So there's about 5 or 6 states around there. If we weren't in a almost quasi dictatorship, I'd tell you exactly where. But since we are, I go radio only is what I do. But I want to say this is I think it's really important that we as global citizens understand that none of us want war. None of us. Even the stupid maggots don't want war. I call them maggots, the Make America Great people.
That's right.
We don't want it. And I never voted for this person. I want you to know a lot of people never voted for this. And we have a system where for the last 40 years, the people, and this is a global issue, the people have been priced out of representing ourselves. I think I read somewhere where like maybe 5 or 6 years ago it was $175,000 for a general person to try to run for a state senate. That's not federal Congress,
Right.
that's state Congress. And we've been priced out of doing that for 40 years. And as Talarico says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We've been on the menu for 40 years.
Right.
And so we don't want this. I just want you, people of the world, we as global citizens need to understand that it's not America, it's not India, it's not Canada, it's the evil 1% moving the
That's right.
chess pieces that
That
own
is
the
right.
system.
Yep.
So
And
can
so,
I call you AC?
yeah, call me AC.
And are you cool if I pull you in with Deborah and we run some things by you?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So how much do you know about us? Like what you've walked into?
Well, people who are around the globe trying to fight against this, and that's all I know at this point, but I want to learn
Okay.
more.
Okay. So let me tell you, I'm going to give you the basic background, AC. I founded IOD Nations, International Online Democratic Nations.org. And our foundational premise is this question. If a business no longer requires brick and mortar, does a nation require land and borders?
Yeah, it's a
And
good question.
the premise is that the downfall of democracy has been happening for 30 years, and that is in direct correlation to the advent of the internet. Okay, and the the opponents to freedom and democracy are rather well organized and functioning on the internet, and
Yep,
They own the
we've
internet.
they do, and they
yep.
control it. Well, no. Actually, okay, AC. Oh my God, this is going to be perfect. Let me ask you a question. Do you access the internet?
Well, there's 3 different internets. I don't access the Afronet because that's not available to people in the US. It's only African people, people of Africa.
Okay.
Uh, so I think there's 3 internets. So the one internet, which is the majority of the globe, is what I am able to access.
Okay. My position and our position is that you don't access the internet. You
Okay.
are the internet. You grant the internet access to you. So the only the only way that I'm here talking to you is because you granted me access to you and Deborah and Ashfaq and Rakesh and Draco and all the other people who are here. And it may seem a bit like semantics. It's kind of like glass half full, glass half empty, but structurally what happens and why I'm so interested in talking to you with Deborah, because Deborah's been through this. How much have you heard of our discussion with Deborah? Are you familiar with anything about her yet?
No, tell me about her.
Okay. So Deborah has served 6 years as an assemblywoman in the state of New York. Okay.
Oh, thank you for your work.
Oh,
She,
it was my honor.
she never lost an election. She ran both as a Republican, or ran as a Republican, a Democrat, and then as a Libertarian, I believe.
I didn't run as a libertarian.
Okay.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The point is that Deborah's got chops way more than any of us here. Okay. She's been in those places. But the point to you and what's brought Deborah here is we're telling Deborah we would like her to help us found and establish the internet, or the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, the first online citizen-led democracy, because a nation no longer requires land and borders. Okay, we can make up a climate nation, we can make up a women's nation, we can make up an online US nation. We have this ability. Did you just see the commercial that I ran for Jasmine Crockett?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay. The point there is if we could get our politicians right now, if any politician were to come out and say, I'm running for office, and a part of my running for office is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to establish a liaison position between let's say I'm running for governor of the state of California. Okay. We're going to have a liaison that's specifically there for the purpose of interacting and working with our parallel sister California governance system, which is the online state of California. Okay. And that is represented by Joel. Joel was elected hypothetically, Joel was elected the governor of the online state of California. And he's going to be directly linked to me, Katie Porter, as the governor of California. And all of the citizens who are citizens of Joel's state of California government, okay, they now have this alternative way to bypass the system. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about your money thing right now. And I've never discussed this with Deborah. They're now going to have direct access to the traditional land and borders based government, and also direct access to their online citizen led government. Does that make sense?
So what the online governance, what would
Yes.
it do? What would be its function?
Okay, so we share a link in our chat here. There's uh, there's an app out there. It's called Decidim.
Basically,
Okay.
yeah.
And what Decidim does, for instance, in Barcelona, if 5,000 citizens of Barcelona decide that they have an issue they want the government to deal with, they run a poll on that issue. They present it online to the government of Barcelona. And once that threshold of 5,000 is reached, the government of Barcelona is compelled to deal with that issue. So what this online governance
Yeah, so
does,
Taiwan is also doing a similar kind of thing. Even a 17-year-old girl banned plastic straw all across the Taiwan. She started this petition.
oh really?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, so
So
a 17-year-old,
basically this is like a discharge petition of the people. Well, we're forcing Congress to hold a vote on something.
exactly, because we are now the citizen-led government, right? So I base this on Buckminster Fuller's quotes. Buckminster Fuller is perhaps the greatest futurist and one of the greatest inventors ever. Okay, and he said this, and you have to understand, I'm talking from a macro standpoint, right? This is about human behavior. This is about macro change. And he said this. He said, "Don't fight forces, use them. You never change things from within. If you want to change something, build a new model that makes the previous model obsolete. We are intended to be architects of the future." Or he said, dare to be naive. So, AC, I'm asking you to dare to be naive when you talk to us here. Dare to be naive. We are intended to be architects of the future and not its victims. And so, what we at IOD Nation say is, a nation is the most powerful and influential form of human collaboration. And a nation no longer requires land and borders. So if AC wants to come in and she's so pissed at this system that she found out that there's 10 million women who have united online and formed the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, and AC says, son of a bitch, I want to be a part of this. Oh, look at that. They're holding an election next month or in 6 months. I could run for president of a women's nation of 1 billion women. I fucking love that idea. And that's the premise. That's the foundational thing that we're here to talk about. We are trying to get anyone in the world of power and influence, or some influencer, some Jasmine Crockett, or some Katie Porter, or some Elizabeth Warren, or AOC, or Governor Newsom, or Eric Swalwell, or Bernie Sanders, or some
Just ordinary people like
Midas.
us.
Just but I don't want to do it an ordinary person at a time. I want one of these people who I can have this discussion with. And so here's the other part of I'm going to address before we come back and ask you about that. I'm going to go back and we're going to blow your mind, and I've never discussed this with Deborah. Here's one of the things that's different about our online citizen-led California, or our online citizen-led Women's Nation. If you run for office and you take any donation more than $30 from an individual, okay, you can't run. You're out. Okay.
I'll blow
Now,
your mind. I'll blow your mind better. My idea
go ahead.
is
Go
you
ahead.
just take $5. Just take $5 every April when we pay our taxes. Okay, and different countries could do this. $3 goes to, in the United States, we have 3 parties. In Canada, I think they have, I don't know, 12, 15. You take $1 for each one, and then that's it. You can put a line item that if you want to give it an extra $100, but that $100 is going to be split between the 3 parties. If there's an odd number to that, let's say $4 is what you donated, the additional dollar will go to the other bucket. So $3, one
Yep.
goes to Republicans, Democrat, Independent. Now, the other $2 of the $5 that you're donating, that is going to independent news. That is going to an NPR or PBS that cannot be defunded, cannot be censored, cannot be, bought, nothing. Okay. And so if there's any odd amounts of money, that will go into that bucket. And there's so much of it goes into the state, like $1.50, and 50 cents will go to the national, whether we have an app or through, a national, like, I don't know, CBS or something that cannot be bought, that cannot be purchased, that cannot be censored. And you have to have independent news. And then you have to have, that's all the political money is in the system. And that political money is going to go to, you have your governor, lieutenant governor, and your Senate, right, which is your Congress, your House Representatives, your senators, at the state level and federal level. It will also pay at the
So,
federal level the vice president. So your
well,
Congress at both levels, and your
yep.
higher, right, whether it's governor or president, it goes to that. That's it. There is no other money in politics, period. And it's all
And
equal.
yep. And here's the thing, AC, you get to sit down with former Assemblywoman, is it Deborah Mazzarelli? I can't see the last letters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. You get to sit down, and you and Deborah and all of the women in this nation, you guys get to sit down and present your proposals for how you're going to run this system. You get to vote on it, and you choose the system for how it's going to be done. But the other thing you can do is you say this: no, outside of our virtual world can you advertise or run for office. And we grant you X amount of time within our internet space where you can make your case. However, if you choose to run for office, our citizens, the women of the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, we've put together a list of our top 10 issues. Okay. When you run for office, you have to spend 75% of your time dealing with our top 10 list. Okay. You have to address each of those issues, and everybody you're running against has to address each of those issues. The other 25% of your time or whatever, you can do it on character, you can do it on your background, you can do whatever you want. But the majority of you running for office is you telling us how you would deal with our top 10 issues. Okay. And now you have this online functional government. You've dramatically, you've virtually eliminated, you don't even have, this is the genius of Buckminster Fuller, right? You don't have to eliminate Citizens United, because you've developed a new model that makes the previous model obsolete. And you women, or whoever it is, it's the youth nation or the LGBTQ plus nation or the the online state of New York or the online state of Wisconsin or wherever you might be, right? You now, I forgot where I was going with that. You guys are in control of your own elections and your own government and how it functions. And it's you set up your voting system, but now what happens is if you're large enough, right? So let's say we'll take Deborah as in the state of New York. Let's say that the percentage of women who are citizens of the online democratic New York state, let's say that 65% of the women are online and registered as citizens of this online democratic state. Okay. Right now, at that point, you have become a dominant enough force that even in the conventional regular elections, you now impose your will upon them. Just to inform you all, if you take any corporate money, okay, or if you don't come and debate using our format in our online platform addressing our top 10 issues, we won't vote for you. We're done. We will put a candidate up to run for that traditional office who agrees to operate within our confines and how we want our government run. And what you've done then is you've leveraged this working model that you've proven that citizens stand behind. And now your model becomes the model that forces the traditional land and borders based model to adopt certain things. And the 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 possibilities are literally freaking limitless.
So
Go ahead.
So I think with this is that, I mean, some of this I like, and some of it you do have to bring it back to there is a land, right? There is taxes, there is that has to be, grounded in a border that is physical. But I think if you look at the idea of just taking whether that's $5, maybe it's in Canada it's $10 because you have so many different parties or whatever. When you do that, you automatically mean that once you get into office, you are not spending 50 to 75% of your time fundraising. You are not bought before you come in. If you already have that money, that $2 for individual, let's say independent journalism, then when you have these public debates, since you, the public, already paid for it, those will be the forums where you have your debates. So, and you'll have to have so much time for that. And I think what would be interesting with what you are saying is that if we had certain things that we could do on the internet where, again, you could basically, as the people, we could make a discharge petition electronically to force our Congress to have a vote on something and make it so that if you go to war, you have to get the majority, 60% of Americans or wherever have to be on board with going into a war, or you can't go into a war. And if you declare war, do something like what's recently been done, then you can be pulled from office automatically and you will be tried for treason. That we make this some. I have an appointment. I have a medical appointment. I gotta go do this. So thank you very much.
Come
This
see
is
us
really
again.
intriguing. This is very intriguing. I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you so
We
much.
hope to see you again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
That was fun, wasn't it, Deborah?
Yeah, that was. Yeah. You know, one thing that you got to remember, Democrats and Republicans, they don't let other parties in to the system. And once another party comes in, they buy that party. They buy their endorsement. That's how they win elections. The more endorsements you have and lines that you run on, the easier it is to win an election. I only had the Republican line. My opponent always had conservative, right to life, independence, working families. So he had 5 lines, I had 1. The more lines you have, the better the chances that you're going to win. There's a lot of things that are what she talked about as far as public financing of campaigns. We already tried that in New York State. We couldn't get it passed. I'm not saying you can't do it, but we did try that. public financing of campaigns. It's just very difficult when you only have two parties because,
This is,
you know,
and what I'm saying is
I'm not saying impossible.
when,
I'm just saying it's
no,
hard.
I know you're not, and I'm not,
I want to add something here. The
yeah, go.
trajectory is commenting about taking the big dollars out of the politics quite a few times. And since Deborah is also talking about it, so I think we should, at least talk about it or brainstorm ideas. So I actually wanted to
So let's
say to,
throw this in there. Go ahead. Go
sure.
ahead. Sorry, Rick. Sorry, Ashfaq. Go ahead.
So it's okay. So I was like even trying to tell AC that like even if she doesn't like your ideas, we can share. This is a conversation. We can share our ideas, and we can even like list those ideas and then share with people to see what they think and bring up the top 5 ideas and maybe
So
start experimenting with them. So go ahead.
I'm gonna take this back to trajectory and the comment about the name being too long. Look, I I I had to pick a name, right? I had to give it an identity. I had to create a logo. I had to make it
Right.
visible, and I had to make it so people could feel it and try, when you say online democracy, nobody really knows what the hell to think. So trajectory, I'm not here to tell you the name of it. Okay. I'm I am I'm simply a vessel for an idea, but I feel like I have to define it. I feel like I have to engage with someone like Deborah and define possibilities. But when Deborah shakes her head and says, "Well, I'm not sure about that," or "You need to understand how this operates," she's biased, but she's biased by
Experience.
information. She's biased by experience, okay? And she's not, you can just tell when you listen to her, she's not saying things from a standpoint of no or that won't work. She's saying it from you should consider X. You need to think about Y. I'm throwing out the name. I don't I don't give a crap what you call it. I told her yesterday or Monday, I said,
Yeah.
my recommendation for the name of the email campaign was the
World's women.
WWW
Yep.
WWWACW. What was
Yeah.
it, Deborah?
World's women's um, against the conservative wankers. Yeah. World's warrior
War
women. World's warrior women against the conservative wankers. Yeah.
email campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying we can have fun with this. You can name the goddamn thing anything you want. Funny story. In Great Britain or in Great Britain, about I think it was about 4 years ago, they paid it and funded an icebreaker boat. I believe it was an icebreaker, and those boats are insanely expensive. Okay, and um, they put out a big online, right? They put out a big public campaign. What's your pick to name this icebreaker boat? And you know what they named the boat, Deborah?
No, what?
Boaty McBoat.
McPhone. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is the name that the people of Great Britain chose to name this multi-million dollar boat. And the point is, it's not up to us to name it,
Mm.
right? If we want people to feel like they're involved and they're a part of this government, yes, we have to make it viable, and it has to be legit, and it has to actually accomplish goals and objectives, but it also has to have fun,
Right.
right? It has to give people a little bit of freedom just to cut loose and say and do stupid shit,
Yeah.
because we're We're humans. So Deborah, back to where we were before AC came in. Is there any politician that you could contact who is either someone who is somewhat active and involved now or is in relatively close contact with someone who is involved now? And is there anything that we could do that would make you feel comfortable enough to say, hey, you you might want to just come in and talk to this crazy guy about this idea.
Yeah.
It's at least worth talking about, because remember, my objective is to get online citizen-led democracy to turn it into a major topic in 2026, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it there. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thought right away goes to Lev Parnas. Because Lev recognizes the importance of emails, online presence, and he's done such a great job at gathering so many people together, as well as journalists. It's not just people. He's already got a great online presence. He knows and understands how important it is. I think he might be somebody that might be worthwhile contacting. He's probably going to win the congressional race, but I don't know anything about Florida and the district that he's running in. So I shouldn't say that because I don't know anything about the district where he is. If his chances of winning, which most Democrats have a pretty good chance, I think he's easy enough to reach out to, and I think he'd be really interested because he understands the importance of online democracy. That's what he's fighting for.
So, and his son,
Yeah, Aaron.
I think it's
Aaron.
He has like the
Tremendous.
fastest growing
Yep.
online presence of almost anyone right now, right?
Right.
And if I remember
And
correctly
also,
about Lev,
Mysalis is with him. Ben Mysalis,
yep.
and he's got all these organizations that are already supportive of him, that are already online. So,
Okay,
makes sense to me.
so I want to I don't even know the online United Democratic Voice. That's the Trajectory's recommendation. And again, Trajectory, we can call it anything. You guys can decide that. But I'm going to come back to Deborah because I market and challenge everything that I'm trying to do that says that this Substack is different, is that we're actually doing something. Okay.
Right.
So are you a paid subscriber to Lev?
Yes, I am.
On Substack. And is his son Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know much about Lev? I think I know a little bit about him.
I don't really know much about him. I really don't.
So if I understand right, get this. If he's the right person I'm thinking about, Lev, there was a
pro-Ukraine. Yeah.
The trajectory say he knows probably live or around. So trajectory, I would love to hear from you if you can join us or just write in the comments.
Who's that?
The trajectory.
Okay. Well, I think I know. So if I remember correctly, so there was a gal who was the ambassador to Ukraine during the Obama administration before Trump came in. And when the call happened that got Trump impeached, part of that was around this whole money and manipulation stuff that was going. And Lev Parnas was actually caught up in that doing work with the Russian Trump side of things.
Right.
And when push came to shove, I think he might have even actually had charges filed against him.
He did.
And he flipped.
Yeah.
And his life is at risk right now.
Right.
Okay. If he is one of these people who actually switched and has taken a strong stand
Very strong.
and done it placing himself at actual risk.
Yep.
And so to me, that's somebody who has credibility.
Right.
So here's the thing. Rakesh, are we subscribed to Lev?
Yeah, we did, but not his son.
Okay. Can you subscribe all four of us to his son's Substack, please?
Okay,
At the lowest possible dollar amount, please.
Yeah,
I
I'm
will take care of
spending a
that.
fortune.
No worries.
I'm spending a fortune on Substack, really.
I can't tell you how many of these I've paid where I've just gone in, they say, oh, now that you've subscribed, if you had one message, what would you say? Or if there's one thing you love, and I go in there and what I want to write is, how in the fuck can I get you to talk about online citizen-led democracy, right? But I have to try and put it and fit it into the 400 characters or whatever it is. I've never gotten I've probably done
They
that
don't
15
answer.
or 20 times.
Yeah,
They
they're
don't
not famous.
answer.
They don't answer. They don't. I took your latest post about women and the online. Yeah, it's on your it's what you put out today or yesterday, and I
Yep.
sent it to my entire subscriber list with the hope that some people would come forward. I got a couple of people who said, "What time is the Zoom?" Everybody loved it. I mean, I must have gotten, I don't know, 500 hits on it. So to me, that's the way, I wanted to do something for today's Zoom meeting.
Yes.
I don't know if you got any response from people, but I did get responses from people.
We get responses, but unfortunately, since we got dinged by Substack, so for instance, today in our chat, we've got a peak of 54 people. Okay.
Right.
When we were doing this a week and a half ago, we were getting close to 300.
Yeah.
And so we're dinged. And so
Actually, there is a shadow ban going on.
yeah. So
right. He is good.
I adopt.
You're absolutely
What's
right.
that?
You should run him for office. He's very good looking, charm. Yes. I think that he and Ashbach should run together.
Oh, absolutely. And you should see Draco smile. Oh my God. He has
Hey,
this.
Draco, can you turn off your camera?
Turn on your camera, Draco. Show Deborah your amazing smile. Show her what you got, baby. You got pick your head up. There you go.
A little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Look at those white teeth, man.
How
Yep.
do you?
It's very good. Yeah, you guys need to run. I notice.
Okay. So anybody who's still listening, okay, if we end this call and we want to put together a secondary group email or Zoom call where we talk about sending a couple of emails, okay, who here is willing to share their email address with us so that we can share that Zoom link? Can we get anyone else besides the five of us to participate in sending some emails or messages to help promote online citizen-led democracy? Would anyone else like to participate in that with us? Because we're going to end this call today and we're going to end it with performing some kind of an act or an activity to try to move this forward so that the next time we have someone else to do it. Maz, my God. Maz, we're finishing up. We're asking, would you share your email and would you come into a secondary Zoom call with us to send a couple of emails? We already have it. Would you be willing to come into that call and join us in sending us a couple of emails? Okay, so we got the trajectory will come in.
Maz will
Anyone
come in.
else? I see hearts, but I want email addresses.
So
Hearts
Maz
don't.
said he or she will. I mean, we can count on her. What about Deborah?
I gave you my
Deb,
email address. Yeah,
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 Deborah's
I mean,
absolutely.
in. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna cut her loose, or she's gonna have some other ideas, or we're gonna brainstorm for a
Yeah,
few
you
ideas,
know,
whatever it ends up
let
being.
me just real quick tell you that one of your ideas really was hitting home when I was sending out emails today. Taking the women survivors of that, it's the key to getting an easy email out there with responses of support. Everybody wants
Hey,
the Epstein files released, and they want those women to
Right.
get justice. So
would anyone how many email addresses do we have right now, Ashfaq, that were related to survivors?
a few, maybe 20 to 30. I don't exactly remember.
No,
I
not to survivors. Really?
oh, you mean? Oh, are you talking? Are we talking
Ep,
about the Epstein?
Ep,
yeah,
Epstein survivors, because I remember when we were looking, we were having a hard time getting emails.
4 or
I
5.
know 4 or 5. Okay. I know that Gloria Steinem represents at least 5 or 6 or 7 of them. Hey, Draco or Rakesh, can you look up Gloria Steinem's email? We're gonna want to get that email address and include it with this. Um, So Maz, the trajectory, and Deborah. That looks who we've got for a call right now. No one else is in for sending emails. We're going to give you about 20 more seconds. Hey, so um, can somebody create a next Zoom meeting? Schedule it for 5 minutes from now. Let's give people a chance to go to the bathroom, um, or whatever. And then I want you to share that email link. You can share it in our existing chat right now. So anyone here um, can click on that, and they'll be able to get into it. And then we're going to actually do something. We're going to functionally do a couple of things to start moving this shit forward.
All right.
So,
So before
Joel,
we
in
end,
that
I
meantime,
have. Right.
can I share some of our commercial video? So, like a commercial break that promote democracy,
Yeah,
freedom, and democracy.
what do you want to so okay, you can share it, but you can't share the goddamn cankle drone.
I
All
think
right.
we should share the Kankel drone, man. I mean, it's subtle, it's cartoon, it's funny. So I think everybody should
Okay,
take the Kankel
Draco,
drone.
what were you going to share, Draco?
I'm going to share our peanuts based commercial that
The
have
Coinbase.
Socrates.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to
Socrates.
share our takeoff on the Coinbase commercial.
Yep.
And then if you want to share Cankle Drone, there's so few people here. I don't give a damn. But if you're going to do the Cankle Drone, you got to do the one where the boats are crashing. Okay?
All right.
You know the one I'm talking about?
I can guess. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's do Cankle Drone first, because that's only a few seconds clip. And then we'll do Coinbase. Who has okay, Maz, you head off to bed. Um, what we will do, Maz, we're going to send you an email. We're going to tell you what messages we came up with to send in our emails. We're going to give you the email addresses that we sent it to. And when you wake up, if you would like to, we would really appreciate it if you would copy those and send those emails from your location. That way you can participate even though you're not here and a part of the call. All right, Draco, have you found Kenkel Drone? If you haven't, do Coinbase first and go find it. Okay, let's do this. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, while Draco is doing it, I want to talk to Debra for a moment. So you actually inspired me today to think about studying political science for my postgraduate. So
Oh,
thank you
good.
so much.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think that's great. Great.
you are a political science student, right?
I was a political science student, got my Bachelor of Science in political science. Yes.
Great. So definitely, I mean, I do have some interest, and you inspired me. So I'll give it a
Oh,
hard
great.
shot, and maybe I will, someday come to United States to study political science.
Oh, that's why come to the United States? Can't you study it there? I mean,
I
where
can,
are
I
you?
can. I mean, I studied my whole life here. I want to, travel the world, understand different cultures and stuff. And Joel is United States. I bet it would be really fun to,
Right.
hang out with him for some time. So that's why
Where,
United States.
where do you live? Where are you?
I am in Dhaka, Bangladesh. It's a neighboring country of India.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I am right now. All of us.
All 4 of them or 5 of them are all in Dhaka. So I think Dhaka is the biggest city in Bangladesh, right?
It is. It is the capital city.
Okay.
But if you consider the size of it, there's probably another one that is larger than Dhaka.
Trajectory says, "Don't go to Trump University." That's an inside joke.
Oh, no, I'm not definitely not going to do that.
Yeah.
Not even going to visit United States while Trump is on the power.
All right. So here we go. This is our.
You won't
Oh,
be
here's
able
the
to
Kenkel
enter, bro.
drone.
Yeah. All right, let's hit play, Draco.
Придурок. Это дурак. Конец. Там чертовы уродливые оковы для дронов. Бегите, спасая свою жизнь.
Okay, well, that wasn't the boats.
Yeah. But that's funny.
That's that warped male sense of humor that Trump was so fugly that he could kill people with his laser eyes of fugliness.
Right, right. Well, you know what? That
All
one,
right.
you should send that to Lev Parnas or Aaron, because their other fight is for Ukraine. Big Ukraine supporters. They're raising money for Ukraine. And that commercial.
Can you? My whole. I call him President Vladimir Democracy. He's my hero. Okay. Yeah. This is how. So all of this started with Ukraine. We just can't seem to get a way to connect with Ukraine. We've actually emailed a bunch of Ukrainian offices to try and. Can you imagine right now if the citizens of Ukraine united online and then everybody started copying them?
Yeah,
I think we talked about that before.
I'm telling you, Lev has the connection. Lev has all the connections to Ukraine.
And so maybe we need to talk about that in just a few minutes about how we word these emails and these communications.
Right.
So here we go. Wait, before you hit play, don't hit play yet. Oh, this is the boat one. Okay, go ahead and hit play. This is a hilarious video. This is actual Russian military soldiers in boats. Watch this, Deborah. This is pretty funny. It's the Kanga drone.
With a penis missile.
So that's a video of them. They were in these boats
And they just
and they were
started on
flipping
top of
out
each other?
and they
Yeah.
started driving over top of each other.
I would do that. Yeah, that's good.
All right. So wait, before you do Coinbase, Durac. Yeah, Durac, exactly. Before you do Coinbase, have we shared a link to this next call to send some emails? Because we got to get this shit done.
Okay, so here's some technical challenges with that. We can copy a link and share it in the Substack live feed, but those links are not hyperlinked. So, I mean, I have seen lots of people are having difficulty unless we send it to them through an email. So I think that's the best way. So anybody, Maz went to sleep, the trajectory, if you want to send those emails or just want to be a private conversation.
He gave you his email. Do you have his email?
No, actually he gave us his Substack, what you call it, like username where you can tag him on Substack. That's not the email address. We cannot invite him through that, but we can actually drop the Zoom link in his Substack inbox so that it's
all we have to do is communicate clearly with him. How does he get into our next call so we can move this forward and get the emails done? That's what we need to do.
Yep. So I will actually share the Zoom link. It will be a private chat, not live streamed, and we will discuss ideas and send out some emails. Trajectory.
Okay, and you're going to give him that link. Tim, who just came in, you're kind of missed out on what we're doing. We are IOD Nations, International Online Democratic Nations.org. We are working to establish the pro-democracy citizens of the world as online citizen-led democracies. We're ending the show right now. We're going to be meeting in a second Zoom call with a few people who are going to be sending some emails for our email campaign. If you're interested in joining us there, I realize you're a bit early, you don't really know much about us, but if you're interested, you can share an email with us right now and we will send you the Zoom call link. If you're not interested right now,
okay, Donna is interested. Donna, drop your email so that we can send you the private Zoom link invitation in your email. Anybody else do the same so that we can send it to you as well?
Last chance, because we got to move this thing forward. All of us want to engage, but we want to get stuff. Donna, did Donna give us an email yet?
Yep, Donna gave us her email. So Donna, you will receive a new Zoom link in your email pretty soon. Trajectory, let us know if you want to be invited.
There we go.
If you have
Trajectory said you said you're gonna reach out to Trajectory through his Substack ID. You're gonna share it in a private message. So right now, to the best of my understanding, we have Donna, Trajectory, Deborah, all of us, and whatever we do, we're going to put together an email and share it with Maz. That's where we stand right now.
All right.
Okay. We're going to end this call. We'll all talk in just a few minutes. Okay.
Well, I think we should ask everybody here in this call if they have any finishing final messages.
Wait. Let's So wait, Tim, Al, anybody who just came in, watch this commercial. Draco's gonna play a commercial, and it's our rough commercial for how we view online citizen-led democracy. Go ahead, Draco, hit play.
It's called a bicycle, but will anybody ride it?
Organize international online community nations and use the internet for change? Why? Everything is great, right?
The automobile is here, but horses are here to stay. Elevator? What's wrong with using the stairs?
Young people become world leaders? The world's youth would never unite online. They're too lazy and immature to impact world issues. Right?
A telephone? Well, who would actually use that?
People said it was not possible to fly through the air.
It's unclear if commercial air travel will ever take off.
Flying over the Atlantic.
I give you a go to launch, Artemis 1.
We're on our way, Houston.
Do we really need personal computers?
Women can't lead an international online nation. That's absurd. Corrupt old white men will always lead the world. Right?
I mean, come on, who's gonna carry a computer?
No.
Never.
way.
No. Who would actually use that? A so-called information superhighway. Why choose take place? I'll never shop online.
The cars on the internet?
The web is full of scams.
Come on, electric vehicles will never happen.
I know that you won't believe it, but the highest form of human excellence is to question oneself and others.
Wow, that is something, right?
It's just this simple concept, right? Of people, it goes back to Arthur Schopenhauer and his quote where he said, all truth passes through three stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. And third, it's accepted as self-evident. Okay? The idea of citizens uniting online in one or more primary locations for freedom and democracy is going to be self-evident, right? Once people start to do it, once they realize the power and influence that they have, we're just going to sit here and look at it and go, well, fuck, obviously we drive around in cars, right? That's the way it's always been, hasn't it? Obviously we have online citizen-led democracy. How could you have freedom and democracy in the internet age and not have it primarily housed and functional online? Who would dream of that? So, okay, we're going to shut this down. We'll talk to a few of you in a little bit. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on next Friday. Thank you so much.